The rescue beacon had been silent for 3 days when Commander Veshikara found the human settlement. What remained of it, anyway. The ice world of Theta 9 wasn't meant for colonization, but humans had tried regardless. They always tried. Veshikara's thermal scanner picked up one signature in the ruins, a single life form, barely registering above the ambient temperature. The Kryn commander ordered her squad forward, their insulated armor crunching through snow that reached their knees. Humans needed warmth. Humans needed shelter. This one would be dead soon. They found her in what used to be a schoolhouse. The roof had collapsed on one side, letting in the howling wind and endless snow. She sat cross-legged on the frozen floor, wearing nothing but torn fabric that might have once been a dress. Her feet were bare. Her skin should have been blue with frostbite. But she was smiling. "You came," the human said. Her breath didn't fog in the air. That was wrong. Everything about this was wrong. "We received your distress signal," Veshikara replied, mandibles clicking with confusion. "Where are the others? Where is your cold weather gear?" The human stood. Her bare feet made soft sounds against the ice. "The others evacuated 2 weeks ago. Last transport. I stayed." "Why would you do such a thing?" The human walked to the broken wall, looking out at the white wasteland. "Because they're still here. They needed someone." Veshikara followed the human's gaze and saw nothing but snow and wind. "Who needed someone? There is no one here." "The babies," the human said simply. She raised her hand and made a clicking sound with her tongue. From beneath the rubble, from cracks in the walls, from underneath broken furniture, they emerged. Veshikara's translator struggled with the classification. Juvenile, mammalian, indigenous. Approximately 30 of them, covered in white fur with round ears and dark eyes. They were small, so terribly small. Each one moved toward the human like iron to a magnet. "Frost cubs," the human explained, kneeling down. The cubs swarmed her immediately, climbing into her lap, nuzzling against her arms, making soft, chirping sounds. "Their parents died when we built here. Construction disturbed their dens. We didn't know they existed until it was too late." One of Veshikara's soldiers raised his weapon scanner. "Commander, those creatures could be dangerous." "Lower your weapon," Veshikara ordered. She watched as the human gathered 2 cubs against her chest, warming them. The human's body temperature was reading wrong on the scanners. Too low for a human. Too high for this environment. Impossible, really. "You've been here for 2 weeks," Veshikara said slowly. "In sub-zero temperatures. With no gear, no heat source." "I couldn't leave them," the human replied. "They're orphans because of us. Because I approved the construction sites. I was the colony administrator." She looked up, and Veshikara saw tears frozen at the corners of her eyes. "I couldn't save their parents, but I could stay with them. I could keep them warm until help arrived. Human biology cannot survive these conditions." The human smiled again, that strange, peaceful smile. "You'd be surprised what humans can do when something helpless needs us." She stood, and the cubs clung to her. 3 rode on her shoulders, 2 wrapped around her neck like scarves, 5 more clustered around her bare feet. "We're very good at lowering our standards for comfort, and very good at making our bodies do impossible things." Veshikara had studied human biology at the academy. She knew about their endurance, their stubbornness, their remarkable healing. But this was beyond what the textbooks described. "You should be dead." "Probably," the human agreed. "But they needed me more than I needed to follow biological norms." The cubs made their chirping sounds, and the human responded with clicks and whistles that seemed to soothe them. She moved toward the door and they followed. Every step she took in the snow left a deep footprint. Every footprint was immediately filled by tiny paws as the cubs stepped exactly where she had stepped, using her trail to conserve energy, following her path through the deep snow. "We need to get you to medical facilities," Veshkara insisted. "Hypothermia, frostbite, malnutrition, you need treatment." "I need a transport," the human corrected. "Big enough for all of us. I'm not leaving them." "They are indigenous creatures. They belong here." The human stopped walking. The cubs bumped into her legs, confused. "They're babies. They're orphans. They'll die without their parents. The colony created this problem. I'm going to fix it." "By doing what exactly?" "By taking them somewhere warm, somewhere safe. By raising them until they're old enough to survive on their own. Then we'll bring them back." The human's voice was firm. "I made a promise. Humans keep their promises." Veshkara looked at her squad. They were all staring at the human, at the impossible survivor who had lived 2 weeks in conditions that would kill a Kryn in 2 hours. One of her soldiers, a young female named Teshra, stepped forward. "Commander," Teshra said quietly, "look at the tracks." Veshkara looked. The human's footprints stretched back toward the ruined schoolhouse, a clear trail in the pristine snow. But they weren't alone. Smaller prints followed them, dozens of tiny paw prints, each one placed deliberately in the human's tracks. A perfect line of trust. "They follow her," Teshra whispered. "They trust her completely." The human was moving again, heading toward the landing site where the Kryn ship waited. The cubs followed in single file, stepping in her prints, safe in the path she made for them. She walked barefoot through snow that would freeze flesh in minutes, and somehow, impossibly, she kept walking. Veshkara made a decision. "Prepare the cargo hold, generate heat lamps, prepare food synthesizers for mammalian biology." She paused. "And bring thermal blankets for our passenger." "For the human?" "For the cubs," Veshkara corrected. "The human seems to be managing." They reached the ship, and the human stopped at the loading ramp. She turned to look back at the colony ruins, at the place where her species had tried and failed to make a home. 30 pairs of dark eyes looked up at her, waiting. "It's okay," she told them. "We're going somewhere better, somewhere warm, I promise." The cubs climbed the ramp, following her footprints in the light dusting of snow that had fallen on the metal. The human was the last to enter. She paused at the top and looked at Veshkara. "Thank you for coming. We always respond to distress beacons." "I know," the human said. "That's why I waited. I knew someone would come. Someone always comes." She smiled, and this time it was different. Grateful, exhausted, human. "And until someone came, they needed me. So I stayed." The ship lifted off, leaving the ice world behind. In the cargo hold, the human sat with 30 cubs curled around her. The heat lamps warmed them all. Medical scans showed the human's body temperature slowly returning to normal ranges. Her feet showed signs of frostbite that should have been catastrophic, but human healing was already beginning. Veshkara watched through the observation port. The cubs were sleeping now, comfortable and safe. The human was singing something soft, something gentle. "A lullaby," the translator suggested. "Commander," Teshra said, "the human was dying. The medical scans show severe hypothermia, malnutrition, cellular damage. She should not have survived." But she did. Only because she refused to. She made her body continue because those creatures needed her. Teshra's voice held something like wonder. "That's not biology. That's will." Veshkara nodded slowly. She had read the reports about humans. Their endurance runs across impossible distances. Their ability to heal from wounds that would kill other species. Their tendency to adopt anything small and helpless, regardless of species. But reading reports was different from seeing it. The human had walked barefoot in the snow, and the cubs had stepped into every print she left, trust made visible. a promise kept through force of will alone. "This is why they're dangerous," Veshkara said quietly. "Because they're stubborn? Because they don't quit. Because they'll break every rule, biological or otherwise, to keep a promise." Veshkara turned from the observation port. "And because they'll make us believe we can do the same." In the cargo hold, the human finally slept, surrounded by warmth and trust and tiny heartbeats. Her bare feet were wrapped in blankets now. The cubs slept in a pile on her lap. And somewhere in the cold of space, a Kryn commander updated her report on human psychology. Remarkable endurance, impossible determination, dangerous capacity for self-sacrifice. Recommend continued observation. Recommend caution. Recommend respect. The human walked barefoot in the snow, and the cubs stepped into every print she left. And if that wasn't the definition of humanity, Veshkara didn't know what was.